videos and such.
Nice. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reality Sunday number 29. And I know you have missed me, my very small audience, but I am here finally. I have with me here AJ James, David Fulton, and Paul. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, I'm going to go get a beer. I'll be different.
No problem. By the way, AJ, did you get a new microphone? Because you sound like much more clear than last time I spoke to you.
I use my phones for this sort of thing now because I'm tired of my computer messing up.
Oh yeah, you tell me about it. I have Google Chrome right now, and what's weird is that it does not support Skype. Like, I can do this, and then I can do Facebook calls, but I can't do Skype. That's like the weirdest fucking thing.
Skype sucks anyway.
Oh, I know, but there's some I guess some podcasts that I'm talking to right now, and they only use like Skype when it comes to being on the show. Anywho.
Why is it stuck on my room?
What?
The live broadcast is stuck on my room.
Well, it's live. We have one viewer. Anywho, I thought I'd kick us, as always, I thought I'd kick us off with some articles.
Oh, this guy.
Oh, no, it's a study. Religion impacts negatively on the kindness of youngsters.
Duh.
Yeah. A new study shows that children from religious families are less kind and more punitive from those in the non-religious households. Non-religious households reminds me of Ryan Strode, which is above. This guy's from the 80s. A North Carolina kid who was so filled with the loving spirit of Jesus, he told his headmaster, and I quote, "You will go to hell." According to the study, academics from seven universities across the world studied Christian, Muslim, and non-religious children to test their relationship between religion and morality. They found that religious belief is a negative influence on the children's altruism. Sorry.
Really?
What did you say, David?
Being an outsider of religion for over 60 plus years, I'm glad they caught up.
I know, right?
One reason I left the religion, among many, when I was a mere 6, 7 years old.
Damn. Huh. I was never part of a religion, but I left deism. I left deism when I was 16. Apparently, there's a quote here, and I'm getting an echo.
Hopefully I fixed it. I think it was on my end because I was running it through my television. I put it through my headphone set now, and hopefully it goes through there.
Hello, hello, hello. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, said the authors of the negative association between religiousness and children's altruism across the world, published this week in Current Biology, and I quote, "Overall, our findings contradict the common sense and popular assumptions that children from religious households are more altruistic and kind towards others. More generally, they call into question whether religion is a vital for moral development, supporting the idea that secular sensation of moral discourse will not reduce human kindness. In fact, it will do just the opposite. Almost 1,200 children aged between 5 and 10 in the U.S., Canada, China, Jordan, Turkey, South Africa participated in the study. Almost 24% were Christians, 43% were Muslims, and 27.6% were non-religious. The numbers of Jewish, Buddhist, and Hindu and agnostics and other children were too small to be statistically valid. Huh. So, what's your opinion?
What does religion always seem to tell people? You know, of course, everybody has their own interpretation, but mainly we are right and everybody else is wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, that, and there's also, especially in the Abrahamic religions, they have this like tribalism: either you're with us or you're against us.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
They're right and they're wrong.
Well, and I think it kind of goes down to the fundamentalism or the amount of fundamentalism in that particular sect.
Oh, it's always when you go to the extreme. I
Right.
mean,
Like the more extremist the religion, the more extremist the particular sect is, the worse it gets. Like if you've got a mild sect, the more mild the sect is, the less likely that particular child is to be a jerk towards his peers because of their lack of belief in a god. They're more likely to try to convert that to convert their peers than they are to ostracize their peers for their lack of belief. Whereas the fundamentalist child is more likely to sit there and basically say, hey, you're going to hell because you don't believe, or you're going to hell because you are a certain way in your a certain way for your existence. For example, for homosexuality or for any other type of being. At certain point in history, it was because of the color of your skin, for example, like black people in Mormonism weren't allowed, for example.
well, I was in a Methodist family at the time, which are pretty much the most laid-back Christians as it goes. My mother, in her late years, she became a born again, and I seen a difference in her. You know, even though she, professed Jesus and all that stuff, when it came to things, she was much more of a tyrant.
So, before I get to what I'm about to say, AJ, what do you have to say about the study I just showed?
I'm glad they did it. Even though I personally felt like it was kind of obvious religious children were more, how do I say this kindly, stupid. I'm glad they did this study. It may help some people realize what they're doing is kind of wrong, but I'm still glad they did it. It's a good study to do.
Okay, well, I mean, like, what do you have to say about the study that religious people, on average, are more happier than atheists? Like, what do you have to say about those kind of studies? And by the way, this is to everyone. Oh, by the way, just real quick. Hello, Gullis Engineer. Nice to have you.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Not much. Not much. We were talking about a study that showed that non-religious children are more kind to their peers than religious children.
Well, I mean, I know you kind of asked everybody, so I hope you don't mind if I jump in real quick.
No problem.
I mean, honestly, that doesn't surprise me. I think it really depends on the degree of indoctrination that a child goes through, as to whether or not they're kinder to others, or just in general. Because religion in general is very inclusive, or not inclusive, but exclusive. So they see anybody that's in the out group as not worth their time, other than trying to convert them to their group. So I mean, it kind of makes sense, at least in my view, if someone's heavily indoctrinated.
I mean, real quick, how many times have you heard, well, we don't believe it that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, That was the thing.
Well, and I mean, go ahead.
No. But that was one of the main reasons I dumped out as a kid, because I seen nothing but hypocritical. People would go to church, oh, and as soon as they step out the church, the fucking shit comes out of their mouth.
Yeah.
What are those N people doing here? What blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, wait a minute, you just came out of church. Oh, that's right. Next week you'll get, blessed again, and everything will be cool.
I mean, this study doesn't surprise me, but I mean, at the same time, we've seen countless studies that show that religious adults, on average, are more happier than atheist adults. Well, what do you guys have to say about those kind of studies?
Oh, that's bullshit. How many times do you hear how many people have dropped out and they're so much more happy and relieved now? Over and over again. Some people are just, no matter what they are, they're going to be miserable.
Well, true. I mean, I personally think it's because of how religious people and atheists deal with death. I mean, obviously I can't speak for anyone else in here, but I deal with death as, that's it, lights out.
Well, the thing is how you're treated. How many people who are atheists and their kid became religious, would they be kicking their kid out of the door?
That is also true.
How many times have you heard children, because they could even change religion, still believe in a God, but they go to another sect, and all of a sudden there they are walking the street. And then you wonder why they're unhappy. Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, that is also true. I mean, I don't have any children, but I have a niece and nephew. If they were to become like fundamentally religious, I would never kick them out of my life, no matter what.
And I think that goes a lot to, like, what happens when a fundamentalist finds out that their child is not what they expect of them. When a fundamentalist finds out when a child is, for example, homosexual, or it doesn't believe in God, or any other type of outside of the religious doctrine, like, for example, they want outside of I'm trying to think of a really extremist religious doctrine that falls out of it, but I can't really comment on that right now because I can't think of one, because I'm kind of been drinking a lot of wine. But
I have an example in the family. My one aunt, she took her kid, Methodist again, which is pretty much laid back, and she took her kids, of course, and everybody went to the damn church, and then Jane, she decided to not decided, she fell in love with an Italian guy, of course, and guess what religion he is? Catholic. And when she did that, all of a sudden my aunt is going, I'm not going to church anymore. My kids aren't going to follow what I bring them up as. Why bother?
right.
I mean, so there's somebody who's still religious, but not the right type.
Right. So I guess my point was this is that the difference is the splintering of Christianity. I mean, it goes back to the first splinter with Calvinism versus Christianity, and it goes from there. I mean, first there were two, and then it's an exponential increase in splintering, and you could go as far as you want as far as any ideology, and it gets to the ludicrous. It really does.
Well,
to the ludicrous, to the point where it's, what are you arguing? And then there was an episode of Star Trek about that specifically.
Oh yeah.
There was like, I think there was a guy with half his face was white and half his face was black. Yeah. And the other half was black and the other half was white. The left side white, right side versus right side, left side black and white. And it's like, you're both black and white. What difference does it make? And that's the point.
That was mainly racist stuff.
It was racist stuff, but it kind of boils down to the same thing with religion.
No, but they did stuff for religion too, and the next generation did it one time with Who Watches the Watchers.
Right, who watches the watchers, and it goes into that with this. It's like with children, when you indoctrinate children, and Atheist Ranger brought up, the first article he brought up was with the Duffys. Those children are grown up now, and one wonders how those children act in society, which will not tolerate people like that very, very readily. I mean, if I met that child in today's day and age, I wouldn't talk to him. I wouldn't even be around him. I would just leave. I wouldn't even deal with that.
Welcome to planet Earth. Get over it.
Yeah. Gallus, yeah, you been a little quiet there.
He's engineering a wall for Mexico.
Well, I mean, as far as like religious people being more happy or whatnot, I don't buy it either. Like religious people being happier than atheists, because I mean, like, if you were to ask anybody suffering from like what is it, Stockholm syndrome, I mean they would be fine with their captors, right? I hope I'm not mixing up my syndromes there.
That's it.
Huh?
So no, you're right. That's it. That's what it's known as.
Yeah. Like, when they look at their worldview as, from a Christian worldview, and are believing things that they've been told that they have to believe, and are told to be happy with whatever God does for them, or has in store for them, or anything like that, of course they're going to say that they're happier. Of course they're going to be like, oh, we're this is the happiest I've ever been. Of course I'm happy, abstaining from bacon. But that they don't realize what they're missing out with the whole bacon thing.
The funny thing is, religious people do a lot of doublethink. 1984, doublethink is they keep two contradictory ideas in their mind as being valid. Like I say, with their God, he's all loving, but he's got this hell for you. Now, how do you jive the two is beyond my comprehension. How do you be an all-loving, all-powerful, perfect being and then have a hell? And why would you need, being a perfect being, need worship? What do you need worship for? You're perfect. You have everything you need. You are everything you need. And you need to be worshipped? No.
Yeah, I mean, like when it comes to the Muslim religion, I don't know about you guys, but I love stand-up comics. And one of the comics I like to watch called, I think his name is Bo Birmingham, and he's saying he's like a musical comic. And one of the things he said was that why would a God give a shit whether or not you eat bacon? He's like, he created the whole universe. You really think he's gonna stop at the grocery aisle?
Like I said, they have to keep contradictory things in their mind all the time. Look at with the presidential thing. I would not put Trump next to that P word. I separate them. He's anything but what that P word represents. But they can watch this idiot, and they can keep him up there. They see whatever he says. And I say that to my psychiatrist all the time. That's what religion does. It does the same damn thing. It makes you believe in this character in the sky and all his problems, and showing anything but being a perfect being, but they're going to keep going. And one of the main reasons why is because there's a hell. You take that hell out of that mixture and watch how many people, if they could believe that there's no hell, would dump that son of a bitch quicker than shit.
Well, that's the carrot and the stick right there. you put the carrot in front of the donkey and he follows the carrot. You put the stick behind the donkey and that's the cane or the whip beating the donkey. And he's got every incentive to follow the carrot at that point. So you take the carrot away and he'll stop a little bit sooner. If you take the cane away and stop beating the donkey with the cane and the whip, then the donkey will stop a lot sooner. So,
Yeah, I mean, I never got like why people would like if you were to believe in hell, why would you believe in a permanent one? I mean, there are plenty of religions, and pardon me if I don't. I think I believe Hinduism might be one of them, but there are plenty of religions that believe in a temporary hell. Like if I were to believe in hell, I would probably believe in something of that nature.
Right. What's the sense of punishing forever? What's the learning curve? None.
Well, no, it's not just that. I mean, like, well, what could you possibly do that could warrant punishment for all
I
of
understand, but
it?
but usually anything like for punishments, when you said your kid you can't watch TV, the idea behind punishment is to learn a lesson. Now, so what lesson you're going to learn? Well, you can't get out of the goddamn jail.
Exactly.
Like I say, it's double think. That's all I see and hear.
well, eternal punishment is not only unjust and immoral, but it doesn't serve a purpose. Like
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
at some point, it not only have you learned your lesson, but it's meaningless. It not only becomes the punished world, they become numb to it. So if you were in a situation where your world was to become tortured forever, your soul would become immune to it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hello, Amanda.
Hi,
Hey.
Amanda.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I did add you to the Hangout. I don't know why you didn't get the call.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my phone's being weird. I've dropped it a lot lately. My husband's not too
Okay.
happy about that.
No problem. I mean, it's been a while since I know it's been like a month since I had a Hangout. How you been?
Tired. That's always the answer from a mom. If they answer anything else, they're lying or they're not a good mom.
Yeah, I'm tired as fuck myself. I haven't got a good night's sleep in like 3 days. So, I mean, in the past 3 days, I've got maybe like 10 hours of sleep.
My oldest is 6 now, so 6 years.
Oh fuck! I have a 12-year-old. I have an 11-year-old sister. Trust me, I know what that's like. Somewhat. Sorry. Well,
Yeah, my son, he's 7, and I had him this weekend. Every morning it was up before the crack of dawn.
Yep.
And
That's why
so
they
that's
make.
not conducive to any kind of.
You think those weights are for working out? No, they're for putting on the chest of children.
well,
Grandparents always have the way to hush them up.
there is one thing I kind of want to talk about before I get to the next article, and this is just for the viewers as well, for some of the people in here. I am kind of experimenting with having a Patreon, and the link is down below in the description box for the viewers, I mean. But yeah, that's something I'm experimenting with as a kind of a way to increase my base. So, I mean, if you guys want to donate, go right ahead. If not, then up to you. And seeing as we have 2 females in the room, I feel like I should kind of punish them a little bit. Just playing. But I do have another article that is going to piss them off royally.
Oh Lord, not
What
this
the
shit.
fuck?
I know.
Really, what the fuck is what I said to this?
Do they
This
understand that
is the guy who said it, by the way.
women have more of the opposite part of the brain that men do? I can't remember which it is. Gray matter, white matter, whatever. Women have more of the opposite thing that men do. We just have different brains, not smaller ones. Well, technically smaller, but you know what I mean.
Well, not only that, and here's a fun scientific fact. I think the female brain is 35% more active than the male brain.
And we're better at multitasking.
Yes, exactly. But just for the record, this is the asshole who said what I'm about to read. According to this report, Al Hajeri, head of the Saudi government's religious edict authority in the southern province of Assyria, recently spoke out against, and I quote, the evils of allowing women to drive at a lecture. Arguing that Saudis, the ban on women drivers should not be lifted, he claimed that their, and I quote, lack of intellect made them unfit to control a car.
Oh,
No, I will fess up. More often on the road, when you see someone doing something fucking stupid, like looking at their phone, it's a woman, and that pisses me off so much. Every time it's a woman, I get so mad at my whole gender. When it's a man, I feel so vindicated. I'm like, yes, it was a dude. You're a dumbass.
And that's the complete opposite of me. I mean, like up here in Vermont, I mean, most time when I see somebody texting and driving, it's most time a fucking dude.
now just take him and put him in a room that's locked with women with spats, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You know,
That would be so funny.
the ones that take people out looking at their phones while they're driving are dudes because they're truckers. Like, that's how my uncle died. A trucker was not looking, and construction had stopped traffic, and he was driving behind his wife, and the wife had the kids all in one vehicle, and he was driving the other one to get it home. They just recently purchased it. And the semi wasn't looking and smashed in and pancaked him between
that's how my cousin died. She was, I think, like 19. Someone was texting and driving. They hit her. Now, I mean, granted, she wasn't wearing her seatbelt, but someone was testing and driving. They hit her, and she was thrown from the vehicle.
Two teenage girls. They were friends with my sister. They got into a wreck texting and driving, and it flung one of them from the vehicle, and she landed, and she got up. And when she got up, she stepped on a live wire because they'd hit like an electric pole, and it knocked down a wire. And her daddy got to the scene. She was still alive while she was touching the wire. And her daddy got to the scene, and they had to hold him back because he just was trying to tackle her off the wire so that she would die. But it would kill him, so they couldn't let him do that. It was fucking terrible.
Yeah. Apparently, this jackass has more to say. He said that women just had... oh, my God. Said that women just have half the brain power of males, but this fell to a quarter when they are out shopping. What the fuck?
That makes no sense whatsoever.
No, you got to give him that it's fucking funny, though.
It's funny, but I mean, like, what kind of childhood did this man have?
That's what I was going to say. He has mommy issues.
It's like he's seen all the American TV stereotypes of women, and he believes that they're, like, real.
Yeah. Well, no, like, there's some quotes here. Some of them. Was it, if they go out to the market, gets halved again, so now they have a quarter of an intellect. But, and I quote, their lack of intellect does not harm their pious because they are made that way. Wait, what?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he also said something else. He said, would you give a man with half an intellect a driver's license? So how would you give one to a woman when she has half an intellect? Wow.
How does he respond to that 3-year-old little girl that just got accepted into Mensa?
Yeah. Oh man. That was, by the way, that's kind of brings up another discussion of area of discussion. Do you think like the Middle East will ever change into an area that's not a theocracy?
Well, I mean, they were going
Hello?
away.
Hello.
Right, Patrick.
That's
Hey,
a
how
tough
you
one.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Not too bad. I apologize. I kind of got busy playing the game, and I kind of forgot it was going on tonight.
No problem. We have the infamous godless engineer here, and among other friends. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, Paul.
And a drunk redhead.
A drunk redhead? Hey, I'm not redhead.
No, I'm the drunk redhead.
Oh, okay.
Well, to be fair, you have two drunk autistics in here.
Oh, so we're both drunk, autistic, and are atheists. No,
Well,
I can't.
To be specific, two drunk Aspergers.
Got a wild Asperger running around in my house right now.
Oh man.
I'm sitting here trying to freaking change my profile page so that people don't freak out because it's my aunt feeding me baby food as a baby. Because some people seem to have a problem with that picture.
Oh, you are
You look
adorable.
so mad. Like you look like you're pissed that she is feeding you that food.
No, I honestly thought this was like a painting or something. I didn't know that was you.
That's actually me, and that's actually my aunt. So I mean that picture is like
Decades old.
that's probably 44 years old. So
I was going
I
to say
mean-
you're pretty advanced for an infant holding a phone and being on the internet and being on a Hangouts. Don't bother feeding me right now. I'm kind of busy right now. I'm on a Hangout.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's not. I'm not saying you're fat. You're a big baby, like tall, and no, like he's tall. He's larger for his age, and she's just feeding you, and you look pissed about it. You're like, I'm tall enough. Leave me alone.
It was it was green beans or peas or something. That's why it's like, no.
I have no
That shit was
idea. I don't even remember that situation, obviously, because I was an infant. I was probably like 2 or 3 weeks old.
What? You don't remember every feeding you got as a child? When you were
No.
an infant? Come on now.
Like,
I find that hard to believe.
Godless engineer, take note because this is pertinent to our next interview.
I remember
Yeah.
being.
Sorry, guys. Just real quick, I kind of want to stay on topic. Do you think the Middle East will ever change into? And by the way, I mean all Middle Eastern countries. Do you think it'll ever come a time to where they aren't theocracies?
I mean, they were moving towards it. I mean, you see older pictures, and it looks like anywhere else in the world. They were. I don't know why they went backwards, man. It went crazy again.
Godless
The
engineer.
United
What
States.
happened?
The
Well,
United
isn't
States
going
stepped
crazy
in.
here?
No, there's a good reason why there is a theocracy there now. Is because of us. Because the United States as a country can't deal with a secular country. Like, for example, Iran was on its way to being a secular country. We installed a theocrat or someone that's in or theist or whatever, because we can deal with them and we can steal their oil. That's why Iran is going backwards and not forward. And this is the same thing for every Iranian country out there, or Arab country out there, excuse me, because we want the oil, and the only way to get that is to get someone in there that we can deal with. And people who are secular are not going to want to deal with us. Forward.
Yeah, no, I buy that.
Yes, because it's true.
Yeah.
Sorry, Godless engineer. You're about to say something?
Well, I mean, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I think that it's possible that they could, return back to a more secular society instead of having the theocracy. Which, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Iran is the only actual theocratic country that's left. I mean, I could be wrong, but I thought that Iran was the only theocratic one
No,
left.
Iran at one time was moving to be secular, and we stepped in and we put the kibosh on that. That's actual fact.
Okay. Well, I don't. Well, no. I mean, I don't. Does that refute that it's a theocracy?
No, it's what I'm saying is that it's not that it's refuting that it's not that it can't become a theocracy or get away from a theocracy again. The problem is that we have to either they'll run out of oil, and in which case then they will revert back, or they're going to kick us out, and they will start. Then they will get back on track to where they were. But until one of those things changes, being them a theocracy is going to be there until one of those two things.
Okay, well, I mean, that wasn't the question I was answering, though.
Okay. Well,
I'm just
sorry, then.
saying. Well, I mean, I was just saying that I think that it can, go back from a theocracy. Like I don't care like exactly the specifics of how it has to happen. I just know that it can, and it may in the future. Because I mean, like other people have pointed out.
No, I agree with you that it's possible. It's just it's going to take a long time. But one of those things that those factors is going to have to change. Either they're going to run out of oil, or they're going to kick us out, and then and we won't have this nice cozy relationship with them any longer.
Or the women
Wait, we
need
currently
to
have a cozy relationship with the theocracies in the Middle East.
Actually, we
When
do
did that happen?
because actually
Saudi
we do
Arabia.
because Saudi Arabia, for example.
No, but
Yeah,
you know,
we do,
Tony's
because
right.
Trump is over
Exactly.
there. Trump is over
Tony's-
there making love to the Saudi.
Yeah, well, Tony's right. The fact is that Saudi Arabia is a perfect example. They are probably the worst theocracy out there because because they rule their country based on religious law, and again, that's another one of those countries where we put in somebody in charge way that we could control or at least influence pretty heavily with oil, or because of the fact that they have oil, I should say.
you know when it'll really change is when the women over there grow some fucking ovaries, woman up, and demand some damn rights.
Yeah, that'll be. I wish I could agree with you, but that's not gonna.
We
That's,
did it here.
Yeah, that's
Well, yeah, but it's kind of different over there. I mean, yeah, but I mean, when here,
They had them
just-
before.
just,
Like,
I
they
just,
had a taste of rights. Why couldn't they just suck it up and fucking do something about it?
well, I mean, there's a
people
women
like
do.
breathing.
just for a quick.
People like breathing. Yeah,
Well,
Because
there's
people
some
like
women
breathing.
over there that do it. They fight all the odds. There's that lady that drives anyway. She drives commercially over there in fucking Saudi Arabia, where she could be
Well,
killed for it, but
AJ,
they don't kill her.
AJ, the
Amanda.
big problem is oil. Oil, and the economy follows the oil. Once Nixon divorced gold from the economy, oil became the thing that the economy followed. So, therefore, all economy follows oil. Whether we want to acknowledge that or not, it's a fact.
Yes.
So,
No, he's right.
So, therefore, we have to kiss Saudi's ass. And look at what Trump did. I mean, look what Trump did, becoming president and kissing Saudi's ass. Even after he became president, he kissed Saudi's ass, and then he wants to sit there and say, "Well, North Korea is a problem, but Saudi's not." But Saudi's got more human rights violations than North Korea. They both got the same number of human rights violations.
Yes.
Yeah, they're so desperate for oil, they're willing to let people like murder so they can get it. Like, I'll have to find the link for it later, but I was just watching a story today, one of them Crime Watch stories, and they won't investigate this dude who just suddenly all the people around him started committing suicide, and then oil was found under all the land, and he gets all the money, and then he suddenly commits suicide or dies, and it all gets given over to this chick. And everybody's just cool with it. They're all just suicides. Nothing strange there. And there's a bunch of oil now.
Well, and sorry, just real quick, Amanda, to what you were saying earlier about some of the women over there kind of going a pair. I mean, here in America, when the suffrage movement was going on, we still had the Constitution, which means that even if women during that time were assaulted by men, they went to jail. And, in Saudi Arabia, that's not the case. I mean, a man could assault a woman and he'd not get in trouble for it at all. So
Yeah, but I mean, it comes to a point where your life is only worth something until there's something more, worth more. Like, you got to think about your daughter at some point, What rights is she going to have? What kind of life is she? Eventually, at some point, it should be worth fighting for to these women because they're handing their daughters over at 8, 7, 5, 3 years old to men.
The problem there is that there has been people who've tried to change that law so that the women won't be sold into marriage at that age, and the people who are actively promoting that end up getting killed, and sometimes by the people that are paid to protect them. And they say that it's not haram because it's fact that they think it's their right based on their religion to marry a child.
Again, I say at some point your life is only worth so much when there's something more worth. Like, either my daughter's gonna get sold into this, or I'm gonna die fighting it, or I'm gonna leave. Like, those are your three options.
They may not have that option.
I mean, I think we as a country should do what we do with other countries, just impose sanctions on them. I mean, if we went if we want to oil butt buddies.
Yeah, that won't help until the oil is gone, or we find something else to take place of it instead of oil.
Until they get the numbers, you got to have a lot of women doing it. Until the numbers are too overwhelming, they have no control over.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You gotta fucking organize. Like, you have the opportunity to nowadays. It's easier, even in third world countries, it's easier than it was before to organize.
Well, in America, here's the thing. We have a reserve. And we have a certain amount of play when it comes to dealing with oil countries. When it comes to Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, and other countries in the Middle East. So we can play the war game when it comes to Middle East. But I've noticed, I've watched movies like Charlie Wilson's War. And that movie is not necessarily, it's not a truth movie, but it's designed to make you think about how the United States deals with the Middle East. And I've had 2 bottles of wine to think about this movie. And Charlie Wilson's War is about how corporate America deals with the oil industry and how it deals with where the oil actually comes from. We have a certain amount of oil that comes from the United States. We have a certain amount of oil that comes from the free countries that the United States deals with. But there's a large quantity of oil comes from a civilization that falls under Sharia law. And Sharia law doesn't deal with the West at all. It doesn't want to deal with the West at all. It doesn't want to acknowledge the West in any way, shape, or form, and it wants the West to fall under its heel. But that's the problem in a nutshell.
It's more complicated than that. The oil, even if it's found in, let's say you find oil in your backyard, it doesn't belong to you.
No.
Even if it's in your backyard, it's sold to a third-party company, Exxon or whatever. We actually have to sell the oil back to them, and then we buy it back from them.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it?
Sorry, just real quick. AJ Gallus, engineer, you got anything to comment?
I'm just tired about all this oil stuff. Not the conversation we're having, but just the fighting over oil. I know we need it to power things, to in the modern world, but how serious people are getting about it, even people who aren't really involved in it, it's absolutely ridiculous.
I agree. I mean, at this point, we should be using like wind power and solar power for
Exactly. Yes, there are better ways to use power other than oil.
Go
And I
ahead. Paul.
agree.
Well,
Go to
They
North
were
Kansas.
I mean,
Oh.
it's ridiculous that we're still using oil. I wrote a letter to the governor of Richard Lamb in Colorado when I was young. I was probably 8 years old in Colorado. In Colorado, Richard Lamb, I was 8 years old, and I'm 40. You're now 45, as a matter of fact. So that kind of gives you a timeline there.
Godless, I
Yeah,
love the
yeah.
glasses.
But listen, okay, all you fucks in here, I don't want to hear nothing about no solar shit or no wind shit. You're not gonna be using up all the wind for no power. That's why God put the fossils here and made them into oil, and as well as all the ferns and everything. And then
I went.
also the solar thing. Don't you be sucking up my sun? You hear me? God damn it!
Look, Johnny Pooh. Johnny Pooh.
Go
Oh
ahead.
my God.
Johnny Pooh, I ran through, well, I didn't run, I took the car through North Kansas. You want to see some windmills? Go to North Kansas. Look it up on the internet. Look up. The last time I checked, they had like 1,700 windmills.
The thing is,
Isn't that unreal? So if you look at the oil is losing its grip because look at the price of gas now. How long ago was it like $4 a gallon? And now it's a little over $2.
they'll keep jacking up and
Other
lowering
things
prices.
are replacing. Yes, it should be done faster. Blah, 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 blah. I've been watching this shit for at least 3 or 4 days now. I see a pattern, but
Go ahead, John.
no, this goes forward. You'd see more and more windmills. As a matter of fact, as I was driving through that area, I seen a couple of blades for another windmill being put up. So,
Go ahead, Godless.
Well, I was just gonna say there's a pretty extensive windmill farm in Wisconsin or Indiana. But, okay, my source keeps changing the location, so it's a moving location of a windmill field.
maybe you should be drinking and maybe it'll settle down. I don't know.
Right. But see, the
But
thing
look how many
is,
are in Kansas. It's unbelievable. It really was unbelievable. I could not believe it. So there's God, those heathen God people putting up windmills.
Go ahead,
thing
Godless.
is,
Sorry.
Well, no, okay. I don't know if am I breaking up to anybody?
Yes, you're breaking
up.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes,
yeah.
badly. You're
Staticky.
horribly breaking up. Badly.
That's Jesus has
Okay.
got his finger on your damn microphone.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, I don't know.
It's very.
It's fine on my end. I don't know why it's breaking up.
Sign up, come back in.
Well, I've actually got to go here in a minute, but
Don't tease.
well, no, but I was gonna say for what Casey wasn't wrong. I was the one that misheard her, but also that was a legit thing. That somebody saying that the sun, like solar panels, suck up the sun's energy and will.
Yeah, there was a guy in Arkansas. I think it was Arkansas or it was Arizona, one of the two. There was a state senator that thought that if we put up solar panels, we're going to suck up all the energy from the sun. And I just wanted to give the man a fucking slap sandwich because of his stupidity.
you want to talk about
Does
stupid
he know how
things?
much 4 million tons of energy a second is?
Yeah, exactly.
But
you got to understand, these are the same people who think because the moon and the sun appear about the same size as the sky, they must be the same size.
That's all right. There's plenty of cliffs for them to investigate.
But the thing is, they've had all this time and they haven't put enough effort or money or anything into researching how to go about getting solar or wind energy effectively. Like all them windmills they're putting up, they have to write them like dispensation, whatever, from the government saying it's okay that they kill as many birds as they do, because it kills more birds than anything else. Like just kills birds like crazy.
Well,
And the solar panels they heat up.
it doesn't kill.
So that
I'm sure it's.
There has been some study on this actually with solar panels and birds. That there's a few of them that have gotten into where the solar light is being collected at, and they kind of got instantly fried.
yeah, see,
So-
I think it could be done a lot more effectively than it is. They haven't put enough into it yet,
Well,
and they should be.
That's the
How
thing.
many
is
people
it's
kill
not-
birds
it-
with their
it's-
cars?
Exactly. That's my point. Where I was getting to. Oil. People. The oil that we've collected has killed more wildlife than solar has ever. But all of a sudden, a couple birds get fried, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, solar is really bad.
Well, the thing is, it's killing more birds than anything else. Like they're having to write them passes from the government that it's okay for you to kill this many birds. It's not like it's an insignificant amount of birds, and they could fix the problem if they actually focused on it, but they don't. It's okay. We'll just write you this pass, and you can keep killing the birds, and we'll just put up more. They're handling it stupidly. While we still have oil, because we know it's running out, it's getting more scarce. It's harder to get to where it is. Continues that we should work on the technology to make it better, so that once we implement it, it'll actually fucking work effectively and not mess stuff. It'll be the good thing that we want it to be. They don't do that. People are dumb.
Anytime we collect energy of any kind, there's always going to be something that's going to be impacted.
Well, that's
Of
true.
course, the sun, of course, is not going to be the thing that's going to be impacted, because how much energy is being dumped on us right now is the amount that we're being collecting from it is clearly insignificant. But the fact is, though, I mean, because we have to make man-made structures, and animals like our structures. We just can't get around that, and they will be willing to put themselves into danger if they think that they can find a home there.
A cool thing I heard about theorized. I would have to find the link. I'm kind of drunk, and it's been a while since I watched that one today. But cool thing I heard theorized is we could get better energy if we were collecting radiation from outer space and using it. Like I don't know if it's possible or if it actually works. It was just a cool theory.
The only radiation.
It is not possible in practice, albeit if you're talking about radiation in general, that's what you're collecting with solar energy.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only one that means anything.
But that's kind of what they based their theory off of, that it would be better if we could just go out and collect it. And like,
well, see, that's the problem right there, is if we have to leave the Earth to go and collect the energy, there's more cost involved. And even though animals may or may not get killed, it's just that's it may lower that factors, but I don't know.
It's not even that. There's no practical way of actually doing that. Okay, you build some structure in outer space to harvest energy, radiation energy more efficiently. Great. Now, how do you get it back to Earth?
Well, some people think that's
the point.
Some people think that's what Tesla's tower was supposed to do, but from right here on it, that it somehow was collecting radiation energy and
every time you go through a stage of transporting energy from one source to another, you lose power.
Yes.
Period.
That's why we have. That's
There's
why we have.
no 100%.
That's why we have transformers. Basically, what it does is it picks up that energy and then it just builds it up again, and then that's why we have those towers. Are the transformers. They're giant capacitors. They have to build up energy to send them out again.
Transformers are electromagnetic. What are you talking about?
I'm talking like the transformers, like up on telephone poles. Those
but they convert. No, they're just taking high voltage, converting it to low voltage. But in that process, you're still losing energy.
I'm about to get to the.
You do not convert from one source to. You do not convert.
You're cutting in and out. I can't make out heads or tails of what you're saying.
You do not, a transformer only converts higher voltages to lower or lower to higher, but anytime you go through that process, there's a loss of energy, and it's
Yes.
called heat.
Yes. That's what I'm saying is that it's like, all right, maybe I'm using the wrong terminology then.
Yeah, I think so.
A transfer station of some sort, an energy transfer station.
Anytime you transfer anything, there's always a loss.
Yes, absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. That's why when like the ones that are up on the towers, for example, or telephone poles, those ones are oil cooled.
Yeah,
So that way,
that's where the energy's going to.
right. Otherwise, it is the heat loss. It's too bad we can't reclaim the heat loss from the heat energy from that to make that work for us as well. But instead of but we have to cool it so we can transfer the energy. Otherwise, everything melts down.
Yeah, but the best way would it be to have solar panels in each house? That way,
Yes.
transportation distance is less because you also lose power through lines. Again, is heat. So the only way you're going to do more efficiently is to actually have every house has its own system, at least generating a good part, if not all, its own energy from the sun.
Well,
And we're going to suck up that 4 billion tons of energy.
You know what would be cool?
Matter of fact, it's not even really that because the Earth itself only gets 1/2 billionth of that.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, in theory, that's great. But however, right now, our technology to grab as much energy that comes off that sun as possible is barely scraping the barrel. I mean, barely.
But the efficient ratings are going up on solar cells.
I'm not saying that they're not efficient. I'm just saying that they're not efficient enough.
But whatever they add is going to help. Period. Whatever they add.
That's why we're constantly exploring this possibility.
You know what would be cool is if we actually started building more energy efficient homes instead of literally like the worst possible way to build a home.
Well, that's another thing that costs money, and people want to.
If they just start building new homes, like the way the houses that we live in, we know they're too large. Like, we literally don't need this much space. People just fill it with a bunch of crap anyway. We know that the way they build them is not energy efficient in any way, shape, or form.
She's fine.
So why don't they just start new homes? Like, this is the way you have to. They've done that throughout back in London, back-to-back houses and stuff. This is dangerous. Stop doing it. From this point forward, new homes have to be built this way. And eventually the old homes get cleared out and built under the new regulations for the new homes.
You're being so foolish. You're thinking of the future. You're thinking of time frames. You foolish child.
No, you don't want to call Amanda that.
What you can do? I'm almost dead anyway, so what the hell?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, obviously this is beyond any of our lifetimes, but I mean, obviously, how would solar power work if one day the sun just, obviously the sun's going to die at some point. How would that work?
About 5 million years.
5 billion years.
I'm pretty sure that we would all be dead well before the sun actually dies.
5 billion years is about 5 billion
billion years. Before that, we got to move the Earth away. We got to move the Earth away from the sun anyway.
Well, that's true. I mean, if you listen to a lot of scientists like Stephen Hawking, I think Stephen Hawking. In fact, I think Packard, you and I went over this a few months ago on an episode. Stephen Hawking said that, like, in 500 years, if the human race doesn't move off Earth, we're gonna die.
Well, I'm not even talking about that. The sun itself, the nuclear reaction. I ain't gonna go into all that stuff. But the sun itself is 30% hotter now than when it first formed. So already it's getting, in another 500 million years, it's going to start getting too hot for the Earth in its current position. So we have to move it. So that's the next big project. But don't worry about it.
Move
think
the
they're gonna
Earth.
ship us.
No,
all-
no, it's not even far tech per se, outside of course being able to move asteroids around. Because what you would do is you have flyby asteroids to the moon and this, Earth, and you transfer the energy through gravity.
Why don't you like my skin hands? I thought you'd like.
Huh? Move up there.
Sorry, my phone
Anyway, the
took over.
technology is not, you don't need tractor beams. You just use gravity, flybys of asteroids, and then over time you can slowly move the Earth and Moon to a higher orbit. Now, the problem is having the source of energy enough to move those asteroids, because you're transferring that energy into the Earth, and that takes a lot of.
I think the main problem there would be finding an asteroid large enough to actually affect the gravitational
They don't
orbit
have
of the Earth.
No, you have to move them. That's what I'm saying. That's the problem. Is you have to move
Hello,
them,
I'm sorry.
have the
My
energy
phone
enough to
dropped out
change
or
their
something.
orbits to do what you need to do. But the but it's not like far-fetched tractor beam technology. It's just plain gravity, and then moving those objects to transfer the energy from those objects to the Earth to move it to a higher orbit.
Hey,
But
Parker, this
something
cool.
we don't have to
Hello.
worry about.
Okay, Paul, real quick. Hi, Packard.
Hello, I'm sorry. My phone dropped. My connection dropped out or something. I don't know what the hell happened.
No problem. You're fine.
Jesus didn't love you.
Yes, but we were talking.
Jesus don't love me no more.
If Jesus loved you, it wouldn't happen. It must have been one of God's many mysterious plans. Hey, we don't know about the mind of God, but let me sit you down and I'll tell you all about it.
Sure.
Well, no, I mean, economically wise, if we stop relying on oil and start doing renewable energy, we could actually save this. I mean, like the U.S. government could save a lot of fucking money.
Really?
At least, let me be very clear. That's what I've heard.
There's that foresight again. Oh, forget it.
So Paul, let me be clear. That's just what I've heard. Maybe you've heard
Well,
different.
they can make a lot of money if they.
What we should do and what we do is, two different things. I've seen this all my life. This is nothing new to me. It's one. It has to come to a climax of a problem before people finally go, "Oh God, we have a problem here. Let's do something about it." Until you get a lot of people on board with education, with the, seeing the objective, forget it.
Go ahead, Amanda.
That's the
Yes,
problem.
my
All
kid
over
needs
again with
me.
different things.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah, guys, real quick. Amanda, you were saying?
I was my kid out here. He needs me, so I got to go deal with him. And
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Packard.
I was saying that's part of the problem. Is it's money. That's part of the problem here, is because these people, their money comes from oil, and that's the only way they know how to make money.
But here's the bottom line of all that stupidity. Do you know that they control? I mean, there's plastics and shit like that come from petroleum products. There's all kinds of other products that can come from petroleum besides burning it. Okay, so they won't. No. You listen to me out. They won't lose, because if you use less of it, all they have to do is rise the price of it. The price will go up. And not only that, then they make more money because you're using less, so they don't have to transport it. So they save money on transportation. It only puts, and the whole bottom line of all this bullshit is, if they put their time and money into other things, they will make money there. Okay. They will make money off of solar power. They will make money off of windmills. They will make money off of turbines in the oceans using the damn tidal forces. I mean, there's all kinds of other shit that they could put their money into and make money on. But they're too fucking lazy and too fucking short-sighted. The problem of humanity is it doesn't last long enough. In other words, if you lived like 400 years, don't you think you would care more about what's going to happen in the future if you're going to be in it?
That's the whole point. they do, there's two things there. One, they don't care as long as they get their money. Two,
because they're not living long
but you
enough
are
to see-
right. They are short. But you're right. They are short-sighted. They are short-sighted. They don't care as long as they make money. And the fact is that the like I said before, this is the only way that they know, and this is what they know that works. New technologies scare the shit out of them.
Well, I can't help it. They're stupid. I just,
I know you can't help that they're stupid, but this is the
I've seen this
until
all
oil
my life. I've seen this all my life.
until we have run out of oil. That's the only thing that's going to keep the only thing that's going to keep us back is until oil. All right, let me give you an example. For example, when gas prices go up, all right, it's good for electric car vehicles, for example. But when the gas prices start dropping, nobody's interested in wanting to drive electric car vehicles anymore. Because, oh, yeah, now I can drive my car. I can drive my regular car at a decent price where I'm not have to choose between fueling my car or feeding my family. When the gas prices were way up, like almost $5 a gallon, people started looking at electric cars for an alternate charge or way to get back and forth or and around. But when the gas prices went back down to where they're at, just under $3, no one gives a shit anymore.
This is exactly what I said. Until it hits them in the face and they have no other alternative but to go to something new, they're not going to do it.
Right.
That's the way it's always worked. That's the way it's. Show me some period in history where it did work that way.
I couldn't even give you an example because I know
That's
that
what
would
I'm
be
saying.
a lie.
There is no examples. There's hardly ever an example
Right.
of people. Until that push comes to shove is when they start doing something. That's the way it's always worked, unfortunately. And one of the biggest reasons is we don't live long enough to reap what we've harvested.
Yeah.
You
if
know,
we lived if we were to
I
live
had a
like
woman one time
few
back in
years-
19. I had a woman one time back in 1970, and I've always, since my very first car, I've been buying 4-cylinder engines and stuff like that. I've been buying more efficient engines for what it's worth. Okay, but I said to her, you got to worry about the oil stuff. This is when they really went jacking up. It was the first hit of, the embargo and that stuff.
Oh yeah. I remember hearing about those days.
He says, I don't care if what happens to my kids. That's their problem.
Oh my God.
Okay, so there's a mother who doesn't give a shit about her kids.
Yeah, that's fucked up. But I can name at least one time in history when somebody fought or push come to shove to save future generations. The 300 Spartans.
And they all died.
Well, that was a movie.
Sorry.
But no, but it happened in real life.
Yeah, but I'm talking about one group of people and stuff. That's fine, but to get a whole country, to get a whole nation, to get a whole concept of it, of the whole planet,
Right, that would be cool, but
that's the problem.
There's at least one guy.
And like I said, you get people older than me in the 80s. You think anybody in the 80s gives a rat's ass about it anymore? They're not going to be there to pay the penalty. Okay? I mean, it's just the way it is. I can't change human nature. The only way you can do that is blow them off the face of the earth.
My Nana used to say that the destruction of the human species all began with the disposable lighter. Is when we became a throwaway society.
Well, we were a throwaway society long before that, but
Smokers, I don't take much word from them. I'm gonna get another beer and fall on my face.
Sorry about that, guys. That was way what I missed.
No, that we were talking about my Nana.
Okay, well, I've something else to touch you guys with. I've Mr. Theodore Schubat.
Oh fuck! Do we have to talk about fucking Stebat? Holy shit! He grew out an afro.
Yeah, I mean, this may just be me, but I still maintain that he looks like the love child of Screeching Slater from Saved by the Bell.
Oh, poor Slater. Poor Screech. They should have had an abortion.
By the way, I don't know if we have any LGBT people in here, but yeah, he's pretty much saying that cops should be given more right to kill them.
That's his day.
Hence the title of the video.
Was the
Yeah.
officer killing this guy? Was this sodomite really holding a knife? Was he really holding a gun? In my opinion, it really doesn't matter.
No, of course not.
Because this sodomite should have been shot anyway. So let's say he wasn't holding the knife. Let's say he wasn't holding a gun. Let's say he didn't want to harm or kill any of those officers. He was just doing it for publicity. That alone is justification enough to kill this guy.
No, it's not.
Fuck off, you piece of shit.
Can I just note that he's saying no? I have to note that he's saying all this while exhibiting some of the gayest mannerisms that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I got it. All right, I have a question. Here. I need more context of what he's actually talking about here.
I wish I knew. I probably should have looked that up before I.
He's saying that someone is holding a knife, and because they're gay, they're not. Even if they're not holding a knife, they should get shot anyway because they're gay. And I'm trying to understand where is he pulling this story from?
Well, it doesn't really matter at that point when he says that, because he has divorced it from the context. Whatever context he's commenting on is void, according to him, because it doesn't matter if they had a gun. It doesn't matter if they had a knife or if they posed a public threat. He just thinks gay people should be shot and killed.
Okay, well then, because of his hatred, then I think that he should be shot and killed.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to look up some story to what he was talking about, and I couldn't fucking find it. Shit, I'm like, in all honesty.
No, that would be all right, because the fact as I said that, because he's being hateful, he should be shot and killed. That's exactly the same thing that he's doing.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I'm just doing that as an example. I'm not saying that actually anybody should.
Not really, because most gay people aren't being hateful.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're not, but he is. And if I went around saying that people like him should be killed for being hateful, then I would still be in the wrong.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's already being punished for it, and that punishment is involuntary celibacy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Who said it's involuntary?
I know, right?
If you have views like that, you can't even pay a hooker to fuck you.
Not even a gay hooker.
I would personally. I wouldn't give this guy any airtime whatsoever. I know Right Wing Watch picks up his stuff, but honestly, I don't talk about this fucker because I want him to go
he's gay, right?
into a hole and die.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, a while ago on my channel, I started a series called Christianity is Cancer. I've made the decision to kind of continue with that process, and he's going to be my next subject of on Christianity is Cancer.
All right,
but he's gay.
Yeah.
He's got to get a haircut first, though. He's got to get a fucking haircut. He looks fucking ridiculous.
Well, no, I mean, as you can see from the side, I have a lot to go on with him. Go ahead, Amanda.
No, I totally get that. It just this guy, if he were to get knifed or something tomorrow, I wouldn't shed a tear.
Me neither. Go ahead, Amanda.
Well, science says that people that hold these kinds of extreme views towards LGBT people are like 90% likely to be LGBT themselves.
Yes.
Yes, that is true.
He's got the typical face. Like, science mapped out the gay man's face. Like, showed that they have these higher cheekbones and that straight brow ridge. He has the gay face.
Oh, speaking of...
I could have told you what the gay man's face looks like and routinely smiling like a donut.
Hold on.
Hold on.
There's actually... I heard about this last week. There's a computer. It can take it can take a picture of somebody, male or female, and with about 89% accuracy, maybe it was a little higher, they could tell if you are gay or straight based on the face picture.
Yeah.
I would love to see. I would love to have that picture, any video of him, put up against one of this computer, and it comes out Yeah, he's fucking gay as shit.
No, usually you'll find out that people who protest the most are the ones who are protesting what they are.
Yes.
I'm actually ashamed to say that Theodore Schubert looks similar, not exactly the same, but similar to my ex-boyfriend.
Tony,
Yes.
you need higher standards.
In my defense, when it comes to men, I don't have high standards. No offense.
Well, thanks for that.
No offense to Nikolai. Nikolai, you are a very handsome man.
If
only you can pronounce my name right.
Fuck, did I do it wrong again?
Yes, you did.
How was it pronounced?
Look at exactly how it's spelled.
Is it Nicola?
Oh no!
Yes, thank you.
Did I
wanted
Nikolai? Did you come to one of my shows?
I comment on your hangouts sometimes, and you always pronounce my name wrong.
I am so. How do you probably?
Nicola, right?
Just Nicola. Just say Nicola. Just like you would say Nikola Tesla.
Nicola. Okay, Nicola.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Packard, you have called me Nikolai.
Wait.
You have called me
screw it up again.
Nicola. You have called me Nicholas. You have called me everything that doesn't make sense with this spelling.
I am so sorry. Hey, listen to the Atheist, the Bible, and No Wardrobe. We mispronounce names all the time. I'm just saying.
Okay, so
I
am just happy that I didn't post my real last name. That would have give you guys a whole different thing to argue over on how to pronounce that. I'll type it out here in the side chat for you.
What people don't realize is when you start sucking somebody else's rights away, it eventually gets around to yours.
Yes. You're right. You're totally right.
Because what's to stop them from then coming to you?
Yeah.
It's that old story. Oh, they came and took somebody away. Oh, they took somebody else away. And they took this group. Then they came looking for me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to say your last name, but just out of curiosity, Nicola, is that last name German?
No, actually.
Okay, I'm only asking because my last name is hails from Germany.
You're close to it though.
Oh? My last name is German, but I don't have the whole thing spelled out.
Yeah. Scottish.
Okay.
I can hear
well,
myself.
On with this idiot.
All right. That's
his homosexuality, his perversion. Let's not call it homosexuality. It makes it sound scientific. His perversion was dangerous enough, and it was justification enough.
Wait! Stop! Just fucking stop! I just read an article today about another female preacher. Let me say that again: a female preacher molesting many of her pupils.
Oh God!
And she was Catholic.
Yeah, they're always well, not always, but
that makes me just want to date Catholics more because they're all, probably all so repressed that they're just ready to get down and get freaky with anybody.
Well, there's a saying that if you date a Catholic, they're an angel in the bedroom and a whore in the kitchen.
Not been my experience.
In my experience, that is true.
Oh yeah, but Catholics are fucking crazy and sick, and as for pedos, kill it with fire.
Sorry, Amanda. Go ahead.
I'm kind of drunk. I didn't notice you'd hit play already.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I like how you paused it right when he was.
That guy's got nothing to say anyway.
Hey, somebody take a picture of that and post it up on a gay site.
I know.
Yeah,
right?
it's such a gay pose.
Oh, I'm already making a Grinder account for him.
It's a gay post. Seriously, somebody take that picture and then right there, and then post it up on a gay website like Grinder or something.
Put it on gay Tinder.
Gay Tinder. Put it up on Grinder.
Fuck that! Just put it up on Craigslist.
Yeah, Craigslist. Put it up on Craigslist.
Put it on Craigslist and give a link to his YouTube channel and say, "Hey, just message me here."
Also, it's those who are, question their own sexuality. You have more problems with other people's sexuality. If you're comfortable in your own skin, you don't have a problem.
That's right.
You look. Well, we can get that. You go to a lot of places where you got a big fucking monster of a guy, right? He's usually the most meek because he's got nothing to prove. Not always, but a lot of times, say, boy, that guy's big, but he's awfully nice. What's he got to prove?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That's my
I say,
big old teddy
the more
bear.
noise they make,
Danger to
just
society
watch them.
because of his perversity. And so I think it was absolutely right for this officer to kill this freak. And I hope more and more officers are given the opportunity to kill these freaks. That's what I will say. And
In the news
so what
until
needs to
we
be
find a
happening
human
anyway,
judge.
there needs to be a law that says that homosexuality is a danger to the society, and therefore those who push homosexuality and those who participate in this perversity are indeed worthy of death.
I just
Yeah,
feel
so-
that guys
There are people who eat shrimp, by the way, according to your Bible.
The whole
Yeah.
the,
but more guys who are gay. It's less competition for me.
the whole time that he's talking, he's got that crucifixion in the background, and it doesn't even show the face, so it's like focused on the crotch of Jesus the whole fucking time.
Yep. He's probably got a dildo, and it says in his room somewhere, and it says
He's got a
Jesus'
holy
cock
dick.
on it.
Yeah, he's got a holy dick.
He's got a holy dick.
I post many times. They don't have to love because Jesus does their loving for them.
Right?
Oh,
That's why he has the holes in
Catholic.
his hand. Makes it easier to masturbate.
right?
But
Oh,
he's
they-
terrible at
I have to
catching
love
Skittles and
because
killing
Jesus
flies. I'm
does
just
my
saying.
loving for me.
Except the Catholics.
Yeah.
Well,
By the
they never really taught the Bible, believe it or not. It's not.
Oh, I know.
It's not their
Don't-
job. It's the people up front to tell them what's going on.
Don't get me started. Catholicism is the craziest fucking religion out of all of them. Like, oh my gosh. How do you try to claim that you're Christianity, yet you keep to the old trappings, the Jewish trappings of the religion that literally Jesus' sacrifice was meant to do away with?
Yeah,
Like,
the thing is, you don't know crazy until you've stepped into a Pentecostal church. I'm just saying.
Oh, I have. I've been in a Pentecostal church.
It's
when I
double
was a
think. I
kid.
keep telling you, it's double think.
Well, I mean, here's the problem, though. I mean, and part of me, I don't know the specific verse, but I know it's in Leviticus. But in the New Testament, I should say, I want to say somewhere in Leviticus, it says that God says that if any of his followers don't obey all the Old Testament laws, he'll send a plague upon them.
It also says, I can't remember which, I think probably Matthew, because Matthew talked more about it, I think. The rending of the cloth that is meant to represent the separation between God and man and the removal of the need for that separation. And they completely ignore that. They spit in the face of their own religion with their own religion. It's fucking insanity.
Yeah, that's the ironic, not ironic. The funny thing is they use the word rent, like R-E-N-T. It's not with a W. It's R-E-N-T, rent. And we read that on the Atheist Bible No Wardrobe podcast, and I was like, this is such a fucking absurd way to use this word. Instead of using rip, they just use, I rent my clothing. It's like, whoa, how many stores you got in there?
Blame King James. He gathered up what he decided.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know. King James put a lot of extra shit in there.
And
because he
prettified
wanted to set himself up as a god. That's the reason why. But people think it's the best version out there, and they're fucking retarded.
Yeah, they call it the King James Bible. Every time they say it that way. The King James Bible.
The King James Bible.
Christ.
Yeah, there's shit in there. Seriously, there's shit in there that was not in there originally from the previous versions of it, and he wanted to put stuff in there so he because he wanted to be able to do certain things, and because the Bible was saying you can't do that, put it in there so he could do those things.
Yeah, he's the one that added the stuff about the women have to be quiet in church shit too.
Yep. Yep.
Like that wasn't in there. Mary Magdalene was actually the one that was the founder of the church after
Yeah.
Jesus. She was his right hand to cut
Yep.
all that shit out.
Well, you women are evil. Get over it.
Yeah, you women are just
Evil.
horrible, evil. You make us do horrible things.
Horrible.
Despicable.
Evil people.
You want to make my penis
No,
where?
no, yeah. If you want to straight up look at it how religious people do, the women aren't evil. No. The women are the Madonna. The vagina is evil. The vagina is the whore.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're terrified of.
Yeah, no, you're right, because blood comes from it.
Yeah.
And you don't die. Oh, God, that's horrible.
And it causes you to say the vagina makes the men want to sleep with the women. It's the vagina's fault.
Yeah. No, that's what the thing is. It is the whole religion has this thing with blood, unless it comes from a vagina, in which case then they don't want to touch it.
Yeah, I know. They're fucking weird. I don't know. It's crazy.
I know.
Yeah, I've told y'all about the Jimmy Swaggart Bibles, right?
No, you haven't.
They have Jimmy Swaggart's words in them in red instead of Jesus's. And it's after like every passage.
Oh, are you serious?
Oh, sweet Jesus.
I shit you not.
Oh,
he interprets it for you after every passage, and it's in red as if it was the words of Jesus.
Oh, Christ. That guy set himself... Just like King James, he set himself up as a god.
Yeah, they cost $60 a pop, and this dude spends his money on hookers, and people know it. And my grandparents buy it. They spent like $800 to go to one of his retreats. It's fucking insane. Wow. They're crazy.
I keep telling you, read 1984. Double think. You'll put everything in perspective.
Well, I hate to go. But I have to be up at 3:00 in the morning, so.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for joining, Packard.
Yeah, sorry I got here so late. I would have been here sooner if I had remembered.
No problem.
Peace, Packard.
Peace, Packard.
You guys have a good night, and check out my show, Packard Pokes At, and The Atheist, the Bible, No Wardrobe. Shameless plug 3 times now.
No problem.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye now.
And now I want to read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Well, I mean, there was one thing I wanted to bring up. I don't know if we have any football fans in here, but what do you think about Trump telling the NFL that they should fine players or even fire players who don't stand up for the pledge?
Of course, he doesn't read, so nothing. But when it comes like to the Pledge of Allegiance, you don't have to do it. Supreme Court, 1943, in the middle of World War II, in the middle of that shit, it's ruled that you don't have to.
Amen. They're over there fighting for the right to do what the fuck you want.
And that was made a big thing in World War II about they pledge allegiance to Hitler and not the country. They made a big stink about that.
Yeah, they do flag worship in other countries, like North Korea and China and shit. That ain't our thing here.
Yeah.
Cloth.
Yeah.
It represents me. It's not the other way around.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I should make this on air, but I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, which is no way to fucking live. But most of the point, I mean, I know they were locking arms in protest of what Donald Trump was saying, that any NFL player that doesn't stand for the flag should either be fined or fired.
Bunch of bullshit. They're doing a fucking little. Do people remember how this country got started? We rebelled against this damn government.
You don't even have to go back that far. Just look at how people normally react during the national anthem at any sporting event. They go to the concession stand, buy their food, buy their drinks. People at home don't stand for the national anthem.
And
they don't.
all you're gonna do by saying, "Oh, you must do it," is cause more people to be like, fuck you, I ain't gonna. So you make it a problem by saying you have to do this. Otherwise, you just kind of look at those people who don't, and you're like, "Oh well, fuck you," and you keep going about your business.
Yeah, it's like when I was younger, burning an American flag. Well, how do you get rid of a flag that's you don't throw in the trash? You burn it.
Well, no, I think what pissed me off is that Steve Mnuchin, which, by the way, he's known as I think that the king of foreclosures, because I'm not going to go into detail, but he actually foreclosed on I think an 82-year-old woman because she owed I think like 30 cents to the bank.
Oh man, I'd fuck that dude up if that was my mama.
Oh yeah, but I'm not kidding, Amanda. I mean, next time you're on like YouTube, just look up Steve Mnuchin, and you'll get a glimpse of what he's all about. But more to the point, he was on ABC like this morning. Well, no, not this morning. He was on this afternoon, I think. He was talking about how NFL players should, and I quote, use their free speech off the field.
That's how it works.
Oh no! Well, you know what? In fact, give me a second. I can actually pull up the video I'm talking about here.
People are fucking insane. You do what you want when you want. That's what freedom is. Do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yeah.
And if you're a piece of shit and it turns out what you want to do is something that we as a society have decided, hey, we all agree we're not going to do that. That's a law. Like kill people or something, then we catch you and we lock you up. You still have the freedom to do what you want to do. We have the freedom to lock your ass up because we all agreed we're not going to do that.
Oh, I agree.
I'm drunk and rambling. This is standing for flag, not killing someone. And we as a society have agreed we don't have to do it.
Oh, I agree. And by the way, don't worry. I've had like five or six beers myself, so I'm pretty buzzed at this point. But yeah, this is the article what I was referring to.
Let's bring in Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin. With all the urgent issues, Korea, healthcare, why is the president even talking about NFL players and disinviting NBA players to the White House?
Good morning. It's great to be here with you. The NFL has all different types of rules. You can't have stickers on your helmet. You have to have your jerseys tucked in. I think what the president is saying is that the owner should have a rule that players should have to stand in respect for the national anthem. This is Democrats.
That goes against the Supreme Court ruling that Paul just brought up. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
You have a right to protest, period.
Exactly. So that would violate the constitutional rights.
It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't say it's in your house, it's on the street. It didn't say where. You have a right to protest.
Yes.
These aren't like government employees. Like they can't, the government can't tell them what the fuck to do. These people, they sign a contract to do this job, and you can't, in your contract, write in stuff that violates people's constitutional rights.
Exactly. Oh, trust me, it gets better.
It's not about Republicans. It's not about race. It's not about free speech. They can do free speech on their own time. That this is about.
See, that's what pissed me off right there, is what he just said. The NFL players can do free speech on their own time.
For the military and the first responders in the country.
The president is calling them SOBs. Is that the kind of language, no matter how you feel about the issue, that he should be using?
I think the president can use whatever language he wants to use. I think the issue is the topic, okay? And the topic.
And isn't he working on our time?
What was that, Paul?
Somebody brought that up, made that statement. Well, he's saying this stuff on our time.
Exactly.
His job's time. El Presidente is saying on his job's time because he's 24/7.
Exactly. How many times has he threatened North Korea on our dime?
Oh no, I'm cool with the North Korea shit. They need to be put down.
Well, I mean, I agree that North Korea should be put in their place, but I don't think like a nuclear bomb is the way to do it.
Who doesn't want war with Russia?
But I'm cool with the threats. Like Obama made similar threats. He didn't go as
Yeah, but
hardcore
he
as
said-
Trump.
He made threats of sanctions and just explaining what would happen were they to attack their allies, not giving this person a nickname and promising to utterly destroy the entire nation indiscriminately.
Which, by the way, does include killing civilians.
Yes, which is a war crime.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard him say that he would just like destroy indiscriminate. I heard him say if it came down to it, like there is a nuclear option, which I'm totally cool with using as a threat because that's what it's there for, as a threat.
Oh, I agree.
Deterrent, not a
You can't
threat.
compare the two. One could speak eloquently, and the other one doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Yeah. Huh.
There's a completely different caliber of talking there. You know, you can say the same thing two different ways.
Yeah.
One intelligently, showing the problems, showing why you shouldn't do certain things, and the other one just flap your damn mouth.
Yeah, he talks like a dude that's used to getting his way.
Really?
Yeah.
He says cynically. This is the problem. You have somebody who's always surrounded by yes men. And also, he's never accountable for anything he does. Because he goes in there, makes some wheeling and dealing, and he walks away, and his lawyers and shit take care of shit. And then he says, don't pay, and his lawyers and shit take care of shit. He doesn't know he's not in that position anymore. He has no comprehension that he is not in that same position anymore.
Yeah, you're not just some rich dude that's running every fucking thing. You are now the president. You are literally running every fucking thing, and you're accountable to every fucking body.
Well, that's it. He's accountable. He doesn't understand that now he's accountable for what pours out of his mouth. Because before he was never accountable for it. He goes in, wheels and deals, some damn bullshit, and he walks away from it. That's his job, was to wheel and deal and walk away. He didn't go in there to find out how they're going to do the job. That was other people's problem. It was never his problem to make anything work.
Yeah. Anyway, more of a little Steve here. Oh, just by the way, hello, Kazoom. How are you?
Hey, pretty good. How you doing?
Good.
Hey.
Right now, we're talking about Steve Mnuchin, who thinks that NFL players should only express their free speech when they're off the field.
Yeah, I think I disagree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does the
Sorry. Fucking computer.
that they find players? This is about respect for the military, the first responders. I was down at the.
I'm aboard that.
Is it not about their First Amendment rights?
No, it's not. They have the
Bullshit.
right to have their First Amendment off the field. This is a job, and the employers have the right, when the players are working, to have rules.
Wait. Huh. He just said it there again. He said NFL players should only express their freedom of speech off the field.
No.
Exactly.
Especially off the field when it ain't going to bring any attention that you're having a problem. When it's outside of everybody. Oh, that makes a lot of no sense. Why don't you go in your house and scream at the walls? That'll make things happen.
I mean, I'm sure most of these NFL players have Twitters, but still, I mean that's like you said, it violates the 1943 Supreme Court ruling that no American has to stand for the pledge.
Yeah, I actually had this same fight in high school for a friend of mine. She was from Canada. Her parents, they moved her here. She wasn't happy about it. She didn't want to stand up for the pledge. Our math teacher called her stupid and told her she had to stand. So from then on, I sat with her every day until the math teacher got fed up with it and sent me to the principal's office. Well, by the time she sent me to the principal's office, I had already printed up and had ready and waiting all the cases of every student who had fought this to the Supreme Court. And I highlighted how much money they won.
Yeah.
So when she starts telling me the spiel of, well, it's in our handbook that you have to, so they know the Supreme Court says I don't. She tried, well, this is a school, you have to do what we said. No, I don't. And here are the I could take it to court. And I showed her, and she was like, I'm going to look through this and I will get back to you again.
On top of that, if this person was from Canada and they were a Canadian citizen and just didn't want to stand for the American Pledge of Allegiance, the appropriate response from a Canadian citizen would be to tell them when they say, "Oh no, you have to stand for a pledge," eat a dick or sing "God Save the Queen." Those are your choices.
No, the whole thing is, I remember watching it back in World War II. A lot of British would send their kids up country to get away from the bombing and stuff. And if you were lucky, you had somebody stateside where you could send your kid to. So one of the women was talking about, she came to this, to this country, and she couldn't believe it. People were pledging allegiance to a flag. She didn't understand it because they didn't do that in England. It's a flag. You don't pledge allegiance to a flag.
Right? I know. I've always
an object.
Kazim, what's your thoughts? Well, Steve,
I think that there have been team members of different sports teams that have said little bitty political things for decades. It's been just a part of the thing, but now because it's a type of politics that they don't like, they think they should be able to stop them from doing it. No.
Yeah, I was also on the cusp of where they changed the Pledge of Allegiance with the under God. I was going to school and that was happening, and I never added that. I mouthed it, but I never put, under God in it.
Yeah.
That's like, but if they have the ability to say, oh, when you're working, we get to violate your constitutional rights, that's basically saying you have the freedom to speak until we tell you to shut up.
Right.
It's the same fucking thing. It's
right.
Stupid. I have the freedom to speak
in some ways, having them trying to, it's forcing them to have a certain political opinion. You need to have this opinion about the United States. And it's like, well, no, you shouldn't be able to force them to look like they have a certain opinion. That's another issue with this too.
Yeah. Not only do you have to have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, because if you do the pledge, then that is a political statement by itself.
But not only that, not only do you have to have that opinion of the United States, but like he said, you have to have that opinion of the idea of pledging allegiance to a flag. People that just want to object on, there's people that object on moral or on religious reasons. There's that too. They can't pledge their allegiance to the flag because their allegiance is pledged to Jesus or Allah or
that's come up.
Well, there was actually a case that just happened recently where an 8-year-old was suspended for not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, and the news circuit picked it up, and he explained, "I don't pledge allegiance to a flag. I pledge allegiance to family, to God, and to country, not a flag."
Oh, see? It's just
going to court over and over again. Those who do not learn is the key word from the past, are bound to repeat it.
Exactly.
Well, we're just wrong.
Just knowing it isn't enough.
Yeah, anyone that's pledged, anyone that's willing to die for a piece of cloth is not worthy of my respect. I'm sorry.
Right, it's stupid. It's just.
Well, I brought this. I had a discussion on my Facebook, which I hardly ever do, but this guy went around with me about some bullshit, and I said I'm a Vietnam vet, I'm a war vet, blah 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 blah. Lucky I was in the front line of that shit, but he says, "Oh, you're bringing up that. You should be able to bring up that." I said, "What am I supposed to bring it up when it's your convenience?"
Yeah,
right.
That's the same thing with the damn protesting about not standing. It was convenient for you, I should do it.
Oh, yeah. Just by the way, Nikola. I'm sorry if I fucked up your name again.
Pronounced Nikola Tesla.
Nikola, thank you. I just have one quick question. For quite some time now, and this is only because of for healthcare reasons. Because I know you Canadians have Medicare for all.
Oh, I have better than that. I live in Saskatchewan. I have full-blown socialized medicine.
Thank you. Just real quick, you happen to know like the requirements to immigrate to Canada or no?
Offhand, I know of some of the requirements, some of the exceptions that you could have. Like,
Okay, 'cause, someone told me that you have to have like $30,000 in the bank to move there.
essentially, you would if you were to emigrate here. Like, you would
Fuck.
have to, if you would have to apply for a working visa. The way around that one would be to get your working visa and apply for a job in Canada somewhere and get hired at that position, and then you could emigrate to Canada, in which you would have to live here for 7 years before you could take the citizenship test, or you could just marry a Canadian.
I don't need working papers. I'm retired.
To immigrate here, you would need it though.
Okay, thank you. I mean, this may sound very cruel, but I mean, I don't think Medicare for all is going to reach America in my lifetime. And
Yeah.
by the way, I'm 26.
So another way around it would be if you could show that you have Acadian lineage.
Oh yeah, that was a rule just changed not long ago because a friend of mine took advantage of that. Even though he was born in the States, his parents are from Canada, so he got.
Well, that would just be a natural born Canadian citizen.
Yeah, but he was
if you were not Canadian but Acadian. If you could show 2 generations of Acadian ancestry, you could appeal for citizenship as an Acadian.
Okay, yeah, that's not going to work for me because I think like half of my family ancestry comes from Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, you Nazi.
I know, right?
Well, like
he can tell those wonderful jokes where it goes like, "Hey, I can tell Holocaust jokes. I had a relative who died in the Holocaust. They got drunk and fell out of a guard tower."
Yeah, I mean, I think like I did that whole ancestrything.com, and I think like 51%. Sorry, not 50% of my ancestry comes from Germany, and I think that like the second biggest one was like 31% comes from Ireland. So I mean, I tell people
my ancestry pretty well looks like every nation of every peoples who've just been held down and fucked by everyone else.
Yeah, I like when I introduce people like when ethnicity comes up, I always tell people, and it is the truth. I am German Irish.
You do know though, like it does what you're paying for. You get your like basic ancestry results, fine. The tests aren't specific enough to tell you like your actual ancestry, and DNA is more complicated than that anyway, because you can get stuff from different parents and blah blah blah. But the thing is, the whole reason that they market that what they want is they want you to do it because then they have your DNA. The government gets to use it in their genetic atom search, their human genome project, and they could use it to search for not only if you commit a crime, but if someone you're related to does, and your DNA is in the system, they can figure that out now. And they just do that so the government can get your DNA. Just telling you.
That makes no sense because these are industries independent of the government.
But they release their stuff. Like you could watch.
They would have to already have you as a suspect and then subpoena the results of a paternity test, basically, which from Ancestry.com would already be inadmissible in court because it's not conducted under scientific scrutiny.
Ancestry released their genetic stuff to the government for the Human Genome Project.
The Human Genome Project was independently done from Ancestry.com. It received government funding for it, but it was across the entire world, tracing genetic markers of various and diverse groups. I partook in that. Now there is a bit of confusion around that, which is if I go and apply for assurance, one of the questions that I have to ask is, have you ever done any genetic testing? And I have to answer yes to that, and then I explain to them what it is I partook in, and they can in turn access that information to determine whether or not they can insure me.
But they've also used it to find killers. Like they've gone to this thing and they search for their relatives. them fucking crime documentaries all the time. They do it. They go to Ancestry. They search to find killers.
When it comes to Ancestry, I believe they need to have a subpoena for that.
They are maybe not that one particular. There's other ones too, though. So
okay,
you would already have to have somebody in mind and already have very solid evidence that that person committed the crime in order to subpoena the evidence of someone unrelated to the crime to get the evidence to show that they have an ancestry to that person.
They don't have to subpoena if they just ask and they give it to them. Like when you sign all the stuff, it's
in which case that would be inadmissible in the court.
No,
because
it's
Ancestry.com would be breaching your privacy agreement with them.
Yeah,
exactly. It says in the stuff that you sign that you're releasing that they might use it.
No, because sorry, I mean, I'm not trying to get on you, but yeah, when I signed it, there was a privacy agreement.
Well, maybe then it's not.
They can't disclose it to
anyone. I'm thinking of, but I've watched a bunch of these crime documentaries, and one of them places they do it. They release the stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is possible that there are other sites similar to Ancestry.com that may not have that privacy agreement, but Ancestry.com...
It doesn't matter if it's the websites, because the stuff like Ancestry.com and the other like at-home genetic and ancestry test kits that you do, it's good for a bit of fun. It's not good to actually get any sort of confident confirmation that this is your ancestry, because like I partook in the actual human genome experiment, and I got the actual results back from that. I partook in the National Geographic one and got slightly different ones back from that. I do Ancestry.com. Apparently, I'm not even, of Slavic descent at all, even though it's like I know my grandma came from Poland.
Yeah, well, with your DNA, like you can get it from, like you get parts from your dad and parts from your mom, but the parts you get from your mom might be a part that she got from her mom that her mom got,
Okay, yes, but one of the things that was done on a talk show was they did two sets of genetic testing. They did one that was actually professionally done by a geneticist. And they did this on identical triplets. They come back with the results that we would anticipate, 99.9% identical genes with a 0.1% margin of error. They do the Ancestry.com and these at-home test kits, and they come back, fairly high again. But suddenly, one is Romanian and the other one is like sub-Saharan African. And one has no African in her at all, even though all human lineages should converge back on Africa. It's like they're good for a bit of fun. They're not truly scientific.
Yeah, they don't have any high standards.
No, because the number of ways that just contamination could occur in mailing something to be tested from an at-home kit is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm reading articles and stuff to try and there's one right here. Cops are asking Ancestry.com and 23andMe for their customers' DNA.
What's the source for this?
That's what I'm trying to Splinter is this one. I don't really know it, so that's what I was checking out.
Well, it doesn't really matter if the police are asking Ancestry.com for a suspect's DNA, because, okay, I also have articles of police officers asking the aid from a psychic.
I mean, when it comes
the
to
fact of the matter is, Ancestry.com is not a scientific authority on these things.
Well, not only that, when it comes to trying to get DNA from a suspect, I mean, I did college for a year and my major was criminal justice. When it comes to trying to get DNA from a suspect, they need a warrant and they need the suspect's consent.
Sorry, y'all have far more trusted people than me. Like, y'all see this shit happens. The NSA is spying on us. You know what happens. Like, they want all our DNA. They want everything.
Trust me, I don't support NSA spying at all. Trust me, I don't trust the government as far as I can fucking throw them. Believe me.
Well, I'll catch you guys later. I got some stuff to do.
Oh, no problem, Paul. Thanks for stopping by.
I'll
Yeah.
say that the NSA is not spying on me, and if they are spying on me, it's a lot worse, internationally speaking, than personally.
Well,
You
to
know,
be
if
fair,
I'm,
go ahead, Amanda.
I was gonna say, if I'm not on somebody's watch list somewhere, then somebody's not doing their job. I mean, I shouldn't be, but they probably am. Like, they watch all kinds of. They're watching every fucking body, man.
Or at least here in America. By the way, Nicola.
Yes.
I did see that you were, I believe you were on Dragnet channel when he was having a third debate with G-Man. I'm sure that must have been a charming conversation.
Oh, lovely. Which third debate with G-Man? They were having a discussion.
Sorry, discussion. Well, I'm just going by what Dragnet named his video.
Yeah, no, G-Man. The most recent chat that I had with G-Man was G-Man asked Dragnot to open up a hangout about whether or not God exists, and he wanted a diverse panel. So, we had Ocean Keltaway in there, who's a Norse neo-pagan, couple of Catholics, Protestants. The only two atheists in the room for the most of it was Dragnot and myself.
Yeah.
And Zulu and G-Man did not like what I had to say about particular questions because they just weren't relevant to what they were asking me.
Well, no, I mean, I was watching Dragnet's hangout earlier, and he was talking about how Lucy.
Oh, you're talking about the debate that happened today.
Yes, he was. I mean, I'm pardon my alcohol here, but he was talking about how he doesn't trust the Lucy findings.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. So the claim about Lucy is that they found 40% of a skeleton, and then a mile away, 60 meters below ground or something, they found the knee joint of an Australopithecus afarensis, and they claimed that that was Lucy's knee bone.
Yeah, but
that's what G-Man claims and what creationists claim. The problem is
true, though.
No, there is nothing in Johansson's writing that suggests that that is the case. It, in fact, says the exact opposite, that in 1973, they found a knee, and then later on, they found 40% of a skeleton within the general area.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I know is that the what G-Man was referring to was from two different, pardon me if I don't remember the species name, but that was from two different Lucys, pretty much.
Well, two different Australopithecus afarensis, but
yes,
they were from two entirely different expeditions. In fact, if I remember it correctly, the finding the knee joint is what kind of sparked the second expedition was, let's see if we can go out and find a more complete skeleton of this.
Yeah.
Then they found Lucy along an old sedimentary riverbed.
Doesn't this all kind of get a little more settled by the fact that they had a couple years back discovered like 1,000 skeletons for a species of hominid that falls between Homo habilis and the next one?
No, not between. It falls parallel. It's Homo florencilis or something like that. Basically, an entire population of hobbits.
Yeah.
Oh no, that one too. But I was talking about a different one that they've discovered recently. I think it's over in Europe, I do believe, or it wasn't here. No, they'd recently found I'll try and find the dang documentary I watched on it, but it is also parallel, like you said. It's not in between. They are not actually related to us in any way.
Well, no, they're related to us, but
no, not along our actual genetic
they would be related to us in the same way that cousins are related to you. You're not going to find like an intermediary step between you and your cousin.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta find that documentary. It's been a while. Hold on.
Oh, by the way, Amanda, I'm only saying this because of the hurricane that hit there recently. Were you affected by the hurricane that hit there in, I believe, Houston?
No. I'm closer to Dallas, so didn't touch us really.
Okay. I mean, I knew
He'll
you
be
lived
out
in
to get.
Texas somewhere.
Yeah, no, Dallas is as close as I tell anybody.
Oh no, no, I'm not trying to doubt up you. Obviously,
Yeah, no, it's
I was
cool.
just wondering, like, I mean, I'm sure you maybe got like some rain from the hurricane if you live in Dallas.
Not, I mean, we got some, but we didn't like flood or anything. We were all right here, thankfully.
Yeah,
But
I
a
mean,
lot of people at Direwolf went out actually. He'd just come back. He's another YouTuber, but he'd just come back from overseas, like literally just gotten back when the hurricane hit, and he drove out with a boat and went and rescued people. And he
yeah,
was
it
all
was
right.
that. There was a lot of stuff on Facebook, and I think it made like a $10 donation to some type of hurricane fund on Facebook.
Yeah, lots of them pop up when there's a hurricane. Linda Sarsour tried to do a fake one.
Yeah.
Goldstein, of course.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he linked to him and not to the hurricane stuff. What the fuck?
By the way, Kazum, I haven't talked to you in a while. What you been up to, man?
Living in Pennsylvania now. So,
wow, you don't live that far from me. I live in Vermont.
yeah, I'm in a small town called Shamokin. Shamokin. So,
yeah, I saw that you recently put up a video. I think like maybe like half an hour ago. Talking about the media. What was that about?
oh, I just think that I think we're in for a media, just in general, social media, traditional media. I think we're in for a media bubble popping here real
Okay.
soon. And I think sites like Facebook will take some of the biggest damage. But I think it's one thing that I gotta say about the Trump administration is that he's disrupted things to the point where media has controlled the populace for a long, long, long time, for many decades, and that hold on the populace is slipping. And once I don't know. I'm seeing so many things, the signs of so many things falling apart in all types of media that I think we're gonna you could call it a bubble popping, or you could say that there's going to be a crash. Either way, that how it affects things is the same.
Well, I mean, do you think that maybe independent media that we see here online has something to do with it?
That has something to do with it too. Yes, there's a whole shit ton of reasons for why that's happening. But I really think it'll probably be in about a year to 2 years, and we're gonna see some like, okay, CNN will probably be, yeah, that's what I'm saying. CNN is going to be suffering. A lot of the mainstream media outlets are going to be suffering succotash. So yeah.
Well, yeah, like Fox News, for example. I mean, last time I checked, the average age of Fox News viewers like what, 50 fucking 2?
Yeah, they're slipping, and just generally, legacy media is. I mean, we're not going to have in 10 years. We're not going to have cable TV anymore.
Same here. I doubt it. And I'm 20 again. I'm 26, so
it'll just basically be stuff you get on the net. Of course, they're probably going to make more money because for people to get all the channels they want, the channels, however you want to put it, the programming that they want, they'll probably end up having to pay even more than they did on cable.
Yeah,
because everything's going to be once it gets split up to a degree where you can't just get one service and have access to all this neat stuff. When it starts getting split up and you have to pay for like 20 different services, yeah, you're going to be paying up the ass.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amanda.
I was gonna say we're heading right for 51 with a little Doctor Who twist. They're gonna download this shit straight into our heads, like all the time. And they're gonna try and come and pump you out and clean you up like on Fahrenheit 9/11. There you go. I mean, I'm drunk.
Yeah.
I used to call it that back in high school too. Like as I'm reading the book, I kept calling it Fahrenheit 9/11. I don't know why.
It's so weird to think about 9/11 actually being. It was actually quite a. I mean, it's what
Traumatic event.
16 years. You know, that's just. It's just weird to think of that as a long time ago. It's weird to think of 1997 as 20 years ago. It's just
Exactly.
it
No,
blows
well,
my mind still.
No, what I find awfully, I don't want to say funny, but what I find a little bit weird about 9/11 is that every single person that I've ever talked to remembers what they were doing that day. Like me, I was in fifth grade. Let me say that again. I was in fifth grade when my mother pulled me out of school. And when she pulled me out of school, she was crying. Like she didn't even know anyone in the building, but she was crying because of that terrorist attack. And I was in fifth grade, like maybe 10 or 11 years. Well, wait, was 2000? Yeah, I was 10 years old at the time. And she was crying. And I was like, Mom, why are you crying? I was like, I'll explain to you when you get home. And like, if I find that awfully weird that she was like, even though she didn't know anyone in the building, she was crying, and I didn't understand why until I got older.
Dude, I was
Wow.
I can't remember what grade. I was probably in about fifth grade myself, fourth maybe. But I was sitting there on the couch. I was the first one ready for school always because I would wait for the clock to read 7:11 in the morning because I was a weird kid. I don't know why. But anyway, I watched it. I watched the plane hit the towers, and I'm trying to tell my mom, "Hey, look what the heck's going on." But she's busy getting ready and trying to get my siblings to actually get up and get ready for school and stuff. And she, crazy. You go on. The buses here go to school. 9/11 happened, then I had to go to school. And my siblings didn't. They didn't get up. They didn't go to school that day. They have a totally different memory of this day. But when I got to school, the teachers like shuffle us into a library and they tell us we're really close to Los Alamos. And if the terrorists decide to hit there, we will all die. So will most of the states around us, and half of Texas will be gone. We're just going to sit here and hope that doesn't happen. That's how I spent that day.
Yeah, and and I hope you don't think I'm calling you out here, but I'm sure you remember what you were doing on like the day the Twin Towers fell.
What's really sad is I remember the night before more than it, because I was having a discussion with my brother in this. We were hanging out near the transit center in downtown Tacoma, and it was really late. It was already beyond when there were going to be any buses there. So we're just talking over there, which is a rare occurrence. And I just kept telling him that I think something bad is going to happen. I just have this terrible feeling. Maybe it's family or something. Maybe it's just this horrible, horrible feeling. And then I remember being woken up the next morning by a friend of mine saying, yeah, you need to turn on the TV. And then it was the first thing I saw when I woke up.
Yeah.
So that's my memory of it.
Well, no, I saw it on the TV when I was in school, but again, I like 10 years old. Like, again, you really don't know what's happening at 10 years old. But then when you get older, it's like, oh, fuck, how could I not have been traumatized by that? And I think now that I'm older, what pisses me off is the 9/11 truthers. I don't know if you two have dealt with that, but I've dealt with 9/11 truthers for possibly the past year now, and they piss me the fuck off to no end.
Oh, dude, my first. Sorry, I was just gonna say that my first thought at 10 years old when I saw it happen was our government did this. I remember that.
Do you believe that now?
When I saw it, I didn't at first see the. When I first looked at the screen, the first thing I saw was when the building they were showing footage again of the building exploding. I didn't see right as the plane hit, so my first thought was, well, someone just shot just sent missiles at our skyscrapers, is what I initially thought. But the other thing that went through my mind, though, was, wow, I'm watching look, it's the new Die Hard or something. You know, that was the other part about it, where it makes you realize that the explosions and other things that you find in movies are sometimes they're actually pretty realistic when it comes. I mean, explosive stuff seems to be pretty realistic, because it looked like something that could have been. I could have been watching footage of news footage in a movie. You know what I mean? It looked just like that. And so that was one of the other parts that was kind of freaky about it. But I felt sorrow because, I mean, there's nothing, but I didn't know any of the people. But it was a very saddening moment. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I saw it and was like, oh, look what just happened here. Oh, okay. It wasn't like that. I was in shock, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty much in shock too.
So, Amanda, if you don't mind me asking, like, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 27. I do believe I was like, I was probably around 10 or about to be 10. I can't remember exactly.
Okay, oh, really? Because I mean, I was born in like March of '91.
Yeah, well, it was near. We moved around a lot at that time in my life, so I kind of try and base how old I was around when we moved. And 9/11 kind of happened near when we moved, and I'm about to be 11. So
Yeah.
I would have been like 10 or about to be 11 because it was before we moved from New Mexico.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I mean, even at 10 years old, and I'm sure a lot of people will think very poorly of me of this, but in my personal life, I'm a bit of a loner. But when it comes to family, I love my family. I love my siblings. I love my parents. So at 10 years old, seeing my mother cry, that hurt me. But as I said earlier, when I got older, I understand, oh, fuck, 3,000 Americans died because some goat fuckers in the Middle East didn't like our country. Of course, that's just my opinion of the situation.
Dude, I don't know. My opinion about that conspiracy is pretty much the same as my opinion about every conspiracy theory. People have them because thing there that should be looked into. There is something, at least, that we're not being told, and there's enough coincidences that they had at least some kind of hand in it or foreknowledge of it and used it to their advantage. Had
Well,
a
I mean,
plan
that's
drawn up at one point to do that to America to start a war, and they decided, oh, we're not going to do that. But then that plan resurfaces in the 90s, and then this happens. The day after they announced they just lost a shit ton. It's just all really coincidental.
well, I mean, let me be very clear. I don't believe in any of the conspiracy theories around 9/11, but I do know that, I think like a few months before 9/11, when George Bush was in office, he got like, I think, like notes on his desk that's saying, "Hey, this guy Bin Laden is most likely going to attack the U.S. within the year," and he didn't do a fucking thing. He didn't increase security.
Exactly.
He didn't do a fucking thing.
That's what I'm saying. They at least had some kind of foreknowledge of it. They used it to their advantage because it is advantageous. It is a way to get into the war they want to be in anyway.
I mean,
and that's the other part that's so very coincidental.
Well, I mean, that's what you and I mean slightly. I don't think the government used it to their advantage, but I just get pissed that, George Bush at the time, I was like, he received notes on his desk. Hey, this guy's gonna attack, most likely gonna attack the U.S. within the year. He didn't do a fucking thing about it. That's just my opinion. Kazum?
I don't know whether there could have even have been anything done about that at that point, because hijacking a plane in such manners that they did and doing what they did prior to that incident, people had never thought of really. I mean, I don't know if any sort of intelligence gathering that would have been able to happen at that time would have been able to have stopped 9/11. quite honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that is a fair point. I mean, before 9/11, I don't think anyone would have guessed that a terrorist would have used would have used a plane to crash into a fucking building. So I mean, that's somewhat fair. But I mean, if I was president and I would have, if I would have received notice that, hey, this guy's going to attack the U.S. within the year, I would have increased security across the board. Of course, again, that would have
like I said, the kind of security they knew of back then, they wouldn't have been able to have apprehended a situation like that. They couldn't have stopped something like that.
How about the fact that if they just had their shit together and sent the defensive bombers that we actually have to the correct places instead of actually sending them to a different point off of New York where they couldn't do anything, and then flying them out to DC and then back to New York, and all the crazy things that they did with our defensive bombers instead of actually defending, it would have been different.
I mean, who knows?
We certainly. Oh, I was just saying, we certainly let our security lapse. That was not a good point in our history of our security.
Yeah, I mean that's what I find, again, not funny but weird, is that almost everyone I've talked to remembers, like, even when they were like just little kids, they remembered like what they were doing that day, or either not that day, or the day before.
Have you
Oh,
go ahead, Amanda.
I was just mind a little. Have you looked up how close we are to the point in history where no one will be alive who remembers it?
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what's sad. Again, like 3,000 Americans, 3,000. Well, I'm saying Americans. 3,000 people died that day, and like 100 years from now, no one's gonna remember it.
And the entire world, like all of America, not the entire world, but all of America at least, changed that day. The way that freedom was handled, the way that we, like, they passed the Patriot Act, all kinds of new rules on the freedoms of Americans. And we're getting really close to a point where nobody remembers what it was like before. That's the freaky part to me.
Go ahead, Kazim. You about to say something?
Oh no, you bring up. I mean, you bring up an interesting perspective here. Yeah, so many people that don't know what things were like before that, because everything changed after that.
Yeah.
The attitudes of everyone almost instantaneously changed. Now, for about 3 months, everyone treated each other really nicely. It was in the sorrow, people came together, and like I'd never seen before. And then after those 3 months, it was down to, oh well, if you say anything negative about Bush, you're un-American, or something like that. You know, I don't know if you remember that, but that was all over the place. Newscasters were afraid to criticize anything the Bush administration wanted to do for, all the way through 2003. When let's attack Iraq. That didn't have anything to do with this attack. And look, 9/11, we don't want 9/11 to happen. Look, Iraq is so awful. I don't know. But the thing I was originally going to say was, there have been periods in which I've questioned 9/11 when I look at all this different footage of it and stuff. But the thing that changed my mind, initially the building that I thought could have been actually demolished was, I thought Building 7 could have been demolished. But the whole time I'd ever seen anything about Building 7, it was made to look like it happened like within minutes after the towers were hit. And that's not true. The Building 7 smoldered for hours and hours before it came crashing down like that. And that was the thing that changed my view about 9/11, where previously I had still been questioning a number of things about it. I wasn't quite a truther, but I was questioning.
Well, I guess that's one thing. That's, one idea you can make a video about is how things were before 9/11.
Yeah, that's true. I should write that down so I remember when I'm sober.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, I should probably write that down for a subject for an independent video.
Well,
Because
another
people should
thing, one
remember.
thing that's also quite that's changed so much is that's around the period in which the internet really started becoming integrated into society. I'm remembering how things were before the internet at all.
Oh
I
no,
remember, I remember when you had to go on a local BBS and onto a message board on a BBS to have discussions. Dial up
The
for
AOL
sure.
stuff.
Really, before everything was interconnected. And that was interesting too. Where, well, how did you used to look this stuff up? Well, we'd get out a phone book, or how about a card catalog at a library, or there's just a whole bunch of stuff that it's so weird to remember this, and knowing how much things have changed.
Dude, doing class assignments like research papers out of an encyclopedia. Oh my gosh, kids will never know. They'll never know.
Oh yeah, it was. I think the adults in my neighborhood. I mean, sorry, not my neighborhood. The adults in my state didn't trust the mainstream media that much, so they just went to the fucking newspapers for their news.
You know what kids will also never know? Parents controlling the TV. Kids will never have most kids never have any idea of that. Like they could just go watch it on a different TV, on a different device, or watch whatever they want, whatever they want.
I remember what channel surfing actually was. That's when you could literally go between the different channels and instantly see the image for what it was. Nope, I don't want this. Nope. And you'd base it not on the channel, but the number, but you'd base it off of what you see on the screen. And you can't do that anymore on any of this newer stuff. If you change the channel, okay, wait a moment. Okay, now you have the channel. Okay, click this. Okay, wait a moment. Now you have the channel. That's how new. So you can't really. There's no such thing as actually channel surfing anymore. When it comes to cable stuff, while that still sticks around anyway.
How about as the kid being the remote? Kids won't ever know about that anymore. When you had to go up and change the channel, if anybody wanted it changed, it was the child's job. Go, just change that for them.
Okay, guys, just real quick. This fucking guy is looking me. Apparently, someone from the live chat. Apparently, Think Dial. He's saying that he put this in quotes, but quote, "It's our fault when terrorists attack us." Unquote. Nice logic. Think Dial. We never said that. We never said that it's America's fault when terrorists attack us. We never once said that.
No.
So I don't know where you fucking get that from. All we said when it comes to 9/11 is that and again, in my personal opinion, more securities could have been taken to prevent it. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, Kazum disagrees, but it's a friendly disagreement.
My opinion was if they had their shit together and knew where they were sending their bombers, shit would have been different, and that's just true. Like that's
exactly.
Fact.
I mean,
go look it up.
Yeah, Think Dial. We none of us here are 9/11 truthers, so.
Yeah, as far as I go, I want to questions.
Sorry, go ahead, Kazum.
I wanted to add something. I think that if we would have been paying attention to security and new potential threats for many, probably a decade previous, if we would have been really, really focused on that, then we probably could have stopped 9/11 in that regard. But I'm just saying, if purely based on if they, just like a month before the 9/11 happened, if they had just put or even just for an entire year, they had put all this work into trying to beef up security and figure this stuff out because of that threat, they still wouldn't have found it based off of what people knew then. That's what we have to remember, is what people knew then. The ways that you have to think of security completely changed after 9/11. So, if they had been working at security for a decade or so previous, they might have been able to have an answer. but not just based off of when they got that note saying that they were going to attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wondering, like I said, George Bush had gotten that. He got a thing saying that, hey, this guy Osama bin Laden, and I quote, was going to attack within the year. That's all he got.
Yeah, just go assassinate that dude.
Yeah.
And you don't gotta worry about beef up security. Just send a chick, because admit it, we're the better assassins. We'll just go fucking honeypot him or something, and just send a chick to go assassinate the dude. It's the Middle East. They'll fall for a chick easy. Make sure she got some big tits.
Well, no, I think Pink Doll is once again saying, well, and he's saying, there you said again, things would be different if we had done things different. I'm like, yeah,
so
but
yeah.
I was like, okay, again, but I never said that, America is to blame when we get, when a terrorist attack happens.
No, it's me he's got an issue with. And
Oh.
yeah, I'm saying that it literally would have been different if they had their shit together. That is obvious fact. Like, you can go look that up. They'll admit that. They sent their bomber to the wrong place. There was a lot of confusion. They sent it to different places. He was out of position. If he'd been in position, yes, shit would have been different. That's just fact. Deal with it.
No, I agree, but he's trying to sit there and say that we're saying that if that America is at fault whenever we get a terrorist attack. That's not what we're saying. We're saying possibly if things have been done different, it could have been avoided. That's all we're saying. We're not saying that America is to blame for 9/11, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, to assign fault, you have to assign intent. I didn't say they intentionally scrambled their bomber where it shouldn't have been. I would say they had their bomber out of position. They didn't have their shit together that day.
Yeah.
It was a bad fucking day. Don't like it, deal with it. I don't care. I don't deal with people who can't deal with facts.
Oh no, I mean, like I said, it is just fact that, Bush did get from his own national security. He did get something that hey, this guy obviously Osama bin Laden was gonna attack within the year. In my personal opinion, Bush didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, a lot of people have the opinion.
Well, I mean, how do we know that nothing was tried to be done about it, though? How do we know that?
Well, again, that's just, let me be very clear. That's just what I've heard from other political commentators. Sorry.
Okay.
He made clear it's his opinion that Bush didn't do anything
Yes, let me be very clear. That's my opinion. I'm not saying it's fact. I'm saying he was given notice.
Okay, and let me be sure that I couldn't stand Bush. I thought Bush was one of the most divisive things this country has seen. I thought when Bush pushed forth the "you're either with us or you're against us," that could have been what kickstarted so much of the polarization we're still seeing today.
Right?
Yeah.
And
so just as I'm defending certain elements about Bush, I did not like Bush, and I thought what he did was terrible. There was the whole going into Iraq is ridiculous.
Oh, that was a big fucking mistake, and quite frankly, the Patriot Act should be fucking gutted as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I was gonna say the shit that he put in place, they've proven it's not doing anything to keep people safer. All it's doing is infringing on our rights. You get fucking felt up if you want to go fly on a plane, and it's not catching anybody, them feeling you up. Why they gotta grab your junk?
Well, it's also just the way that they gather information about us, from the net, and how pretty much just about all the companies that, that are very big in on the internet have a back door for the government to grab, whenever they want.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I was saying earlier about the blood. You think they can't just get whatever the fuck they want? They want it, they're gonna get it.
Well, they can get it, but whether they can actually do anything, in a court of law is different. I mean, they can get it, but they wouldn't be able to use that in a court of law. So it's, I mean, so you're both right.
I'm just saying you gotta look at it from a point of view. They're gonna do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And they do. So you gotta be prepared for that. I'm not saying it's right or we shouldn't fight against it, but you do gotta be prepared for the fact that they're gonna do whatever the fuck they want. So why would you freely hand them your DNA? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. I mean, I mainly did it for my like ethnicity purposes. Like,
Yeah, I get it's fun and to each their own. Do what you want. I could never do it.
oh no, like, was
makes
it? Go ahead, Kazoo.
Oh, it would make it so if someone was wrongfully accused of something, I mean, if you got wrongfully accused of something, you have more proof. You know, it's as it can be used against someone, it could also be used for someone. So
That's
I
true
mean,
too.
you know, remember that.
I don't trust people, so I don't assign good intentions to them.
Yeah. When I first did the whole ancestry thing, what was it when I got my results back? It was like oddly specific. It was my ancestry is 50% German, 31% Irish, 10% England, what was it? I think it was 4.5% French and 4.5% okay, man, it disappeared. I forget what the other one was. That's all I can remember from that. Oh, there's Amanda again.
I got kicked.
It wasn't us. Wasn't either of us.
No, it was my service, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, my ancestry comes from all over fucking Europe.
I know that the things that I know about with mine is quarter Russian, because my grandma, well, maybe she wasn't pure Russian, but we thought she was pure Russian. I haven't had the test done, so, but and then it would be Scottish, Welsh, Irish, and English, but quarter Russian.
I know that my great grandfather on my mom's side was a full-blooded Cherokee. I know because he raised me for part of my life. That's where the wolf child in my name comes from. He used to call me that. And I know that I have Cherokee on my dad's side as well. And I know I get Irish and Scottish on my dad's side and Irish on my mom's. I don't know what else there is in there anywhere. But I know my husband is also like me, Irish, Scottish, and Native American, but he's Iroquois, not Cherokee.
Oh, thank you. That was the other 4.5%. Was I think it was 4.5% French, 4.5% Scottish.
Scottish is cool. There are a lot of Scottish around here.
Well, the only Scottish YouTuber I know is a woman by the name of Fiona Robinson.
No, I meant like in America, there's a lot of Scottish blood. A lot of Scots immigrated this way with the Irish.
No, I mean, like I love history, and I may have to recheck, but I don't know if I don't think Germany was very big on the whole slave trade. I mean, African slave trade thing.
I don't know. I have to check too.
Well, I'm getting pretty tired, so we have even now we still have eight viewers. So to the 8 viewers, I'm gonna let my co-host here, my people who have joined me, I'm gonna let them give a shout out to their channels. Go ahead, Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Wolfchild. I just did a video the other day, Common Sense About Vegans, with a good buddy of mine, Eisen Wolf. I should be putting out another one soon. So y'all should go check out my channel. I got the tiny URL, so you could just look up Amanda Wolfchild. You'll find me.
Go ahead.
Hey, I just talk about an assortment of subjects, sometimes political, sometimes I put out music. My channel name is just my real name. I had it changed legally in 2014, Kizzume, and you can just look up that, and I'm sure you'll find my channel very quickly. Thanks.
Yeah, I've obviously been your host, Atheist Ranger, and just a little something new, just a little update for my channel. Two things. Number one, I've recently started a Patreon. So to the 8 viewers that are viewing me right now, go to the link to my Patreon is on my channel, or it's in the description box below. Not only to the viewers, but to the 2 people in this hangout. Any donation, I will be very much appreciated. And also, there's rewards depending on how much you donate. And yeah, and as always, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see most of you next week. So you 8 viewers, have a good night. Bye.
Bye.